What if one compliment could change the course of two nations? A single sentence spoken on a bright stage in Maryland ripples across oceans. The Filipino people, Trump says, are the most hardworking and loyal people in the world. That morning, America wakes to a headline that seems ordinary, just another political soundbite. But something unusual begins to happen. In quiet suburbs from Ohio to California, retirees scroll through their phones, sip their coffee, and pause longer than usual. A thought crosses their minds. What if he's right? Weeks later, airports tell the story better than any newspaper. Flights to Manila are suddenly full, not with tourists holding selfie sticks, but with Americans carrying dreams packed in cardboard boxes. Engineers, nurses, veterans, teachers. People who once chased the American dream are now chasing something simpler. Peace. From the cold gray skyline of New York to the golden light over Manila Bay, two worlds collide. One is rushing, restless, always out of breath. The other smiles unhurried, as if time itself has learned to slow down. And so the question begins to echo. Why did one compliment ignite a quiet migration across the Pacific? And what does it reveal about a world where happiness might be waiting? On the other side of the ocean. The spark and reaction. In early 2025, under the glowing lights of the CPAC stage in Maryland, Donald Trump steps to the podium. The crowd roars, cameras flash, the energy in the room feels electric. Then, amid talk of immigration jobs and America's future, he pauses and delivers a line no one expected. The Filipino people are some of the most hardworking, loyal, and resilient people on earth. We can learn a lot from them. The words hang in the air, simple yet powerful. Within minutes, clips of the speech flood social media. News anchors replay the line, dissecting every syllable. Some call it flattery, others call it strategy. But halfway across the world in Manila, something different happens. Pride. Real collective pride. In cafes and living rooms, Filipinos smile at their screens. For once, they're not being talked about in the context of cheap labor or overseas remittances, but as a people admired for their character. Hashtags like Filipino excellence and proud to be Filipino explode across X, TikTok, and Facebook. Videos of nurses in New York, engineers in Dubai, and caregivers in London flood the internet, each sharing a simple message. We work hard not for praise, but because it's who we are. Meanwhile, back in the US, millions of Americans nod quietly as they hear the clip on morning radio. He's right, one caller tells a local station in Florida. Filipinos don't complain, they just get things done. But beneath that wave of agreement lies something deeper, a quiet discontent with America itself. A growing number of Americans, especially those nearing retirement, feel trapped in a system that no longer works for them. Rising prices, political anger, and endless pressure. On a CNN panel, one commentator, a Black American veteran, admits softly, "Maybe the Philippines figured something out that we forgot. Community." Another, a Latina nurse from Texas, smiles and says, "They live with less stress, more laughter. Sometimes I wonder if the good life moved there." The segment goes viral. It's no longer just about Trump's compliment, it's about a mirror held up to two nations. One chasing power, the other quietly holding peace. And somewhere in between, thousands of people start to ask themselves, what if the dream we've been chasing isn't here anymore, but waiting across the Pacific? The broken American dream. It's 2025. America's lights still shine bright. The skyscrapers still glitter against the night sky, yet beneath that glow a dream is quietly falling apart. The dream of owning a home, retiring in peace, and living without constant fear of the next bill. In Los Angeles, rents have surged over 38% in just 3 years. In New York, a simple dinner for two now costs more than $75. And for millions, health insurance at $1,000 a month has become a weight that crushes more than it protects. Across the country, parking lots are filled with RVs, not for travel, but for survival. Inside them live former teachers, nurses, veterans, people who still go to work every morning just without an address to return to at night. In major cities, long lines form quietly outside food distribution centers. The lights of the city are bright, but the faces are tired. And somewhere between the skyscrapers and the silence, people begin to whisper, "How did the richest country in the world become so hard to live in?" A voice breaks through the stillness, calm yet heavy. People didn't leave America because they hated it. They left because they couldn't afford to stay. Scenes shift, from crowded subways and endless commutes to the warm beaches of Palawan, sunlight spilling over turquoise water, an elderly man sipping coffee by the sea, smiling softly. The contrast says everything across the ocean. With the same income, people don't just survive, they truly live. According to the latest data from the U.S. Social Security Administration, SSA, over 430,000 retired Americans now live abroad, and the number grows each year. Among the fastest rising destinations sits the Philippines, a tropical refuge in the top 3 for American retirees. A quiet reverse migration is underway, not from poor to rich, but from pressure to peace. In the U.S., many work 2 jobs just to stay afloat. In the Philippines, they work less, but live more with time to breathe, to talk, to smile. The American dream hasn't died. It simply moved to the far side of the Pacific, where the waves of Palawan sound softer than the news broadcasts on Wall Street every night. A paradise that still feels real. The Philippines isn't perfect, but it's peaceful. That's the first thing most Americans say when they arrive. Here, life doesn't impress you with skyscrapers or designer malls. It welcomes you quietly, with the smell of grilled fish at sunrise, the laughter of children running barefoot near the shore, and neighbors who still wave every morning. For those who've left behind the endless grind of the West, the difference is almost surreal. The cost of living here is about 70% lower than in the United States. A 1-bedroom apartment in Dumaguete costs around $350 to $450 a month. A full meal, rice, meat, vegetables, and fruit, barely $5. And a steaming cup of coffee, strong and sweet, only $2. But the secret isn't just in the price, it's in the rhythm of life. In America, I lived by my calendar, one retiree says. Here I live by my heartbeat. No alarms, no rush. Mornings are slow, sunsets long. People don't measure time in deadlines, but in conversations. The barber knows your name, the fruit seller remembers your favorite mango, and the tricycle driver will wait 5 minutes just to make sure you got home safe. For many Americans, this place feels strangely familiar, like small-town USA in the 1960s, before life became a race. A time when doors were left unlocked, neighbors shared food, and community meant more than convenience. In the Philippines, that spirit never disappeared. It simply kept breathing through generations. It's not luxury that draws people here. It's the absence of chaos. Life isn't polished, but it's genuine. There are still traffic jams, power cuts, and tropical storms, yet somehow they don't seem to matter as much. Because when you wake up to the sound of waves instead of sirens, when you spend your evenings watching kids play in the street instead of staring at bills, you realize something profound. Peace doesn't need perfection. It just needs a place like this. Healthcare and human care. For many Americans, the thought of getting sick back home is more terrifying than the illness itself. A single hospital stay can wipe out decades of savings. A surgery that costs $20,000 in the U.S. can be done in the Philippines for just $800 to $1,200. A visit to a general practitioner, $20. Annual private health insurance, around $400 through PhilHealth or a private provider. But beyond the numbers lies something even more powerful, the feeling of being cared for as a person, not a statistic. In Manila, hospitals like St. Luke's Medical Center and the medical city rival Western facilities, spotless corridors, advanced equipment, bilingual staff. In Cebu, doctors greet patients by name, not by a number on a clipboard. They take their time, they listen, they smile. Here, doctors actually listen, says one American retiree recovering from a minor surgery. In the States, my appointment was 10 minutes. Here, it felt like someone finally cared. That difference, the human warmth, is what many expats say money can't buy in America anymore. It's not unusual to see nurses chatting gently with patients, holding their hands, even praying with families before a procedure. Medicine here isn't just a profession, it's still a calling. Over the past few years, the Philippines has quietly become a medical tourism hub in Asia. Every month, thousands of foreigners fly into Manila and Cebu for affordable dental work, orthopedic surgery, or even cosmetic procedures services that would cost 5 to 10 times more back in the US. A full dental crown that costs $2,000 in California. Here about $250. A facial surgery that's a luxury in Beverly Hills becomes a possibility in Quezon City. But what surprises visitors most isn't just the price, it's the peace of mind. Appointments are easy to book, hospitals accept walk-ins, and nearly every nurse and doctor speaks fluent English. Waiting rooms are calm, families sit together, and no one rushes you out the door. For aging retirees, that sense of compassion matters more than modern technology. Here, healthcare isn't about surviving, it's about being treated with dignity. And for many who spent their lives in a system that felt cold and transactional, that's what makes the Philippines not just affordable, but healing. The visa that changed everything. For most Americans dreaming of life abroad, the biggest obstacle isn't fear, it's paperwork. Endless forms, background checks, renewals, taxes, waiting. But in the Philippines, that maze has a door. It's called the SRRV, the Special Resident Retirees Visa, a program quietly transforming the way foreigners settle here. And for many, it's not just a visa, it's freedom. If you're 50 or older, earning at least $800 a month in pension, you simply deposit $20,000 into a Philippine bank, and that's it. No annual renewals, no complex reapplications. You can open local bank accounts, buy property, invest, or start a small business. And most importantly, you can stay as long as you want. The visa doesn't expire, only your worries do. One retiree from Texas, Jerry Thompson, sums it up best. Back home. I felt like everything came with a fee, a fine, or a form. Here, I feel human again. Another, a widower named Paul Henderson, smiles as he watches the sunset in Bohol. I don't feel like a foreigner here, he says softly. I feel like I was always meant to be here. That's the essence of the SRV. It's more than a legal document. It's a freedom visa, a chance to live outside the system that once chained you to deadlines, debt, and deadlines disguised as dreams. It's a second passport to peace. In a world where bureaucracy defines your worth, the Philippines offers something radical: simplicity. No stress, no countdown, no fear of overstaying. You belong here the moment you decide to. So the question lingers, gentle but powerful. Would you trade the mountain of paperwork for the quiet of the sea? Would you exchange the noise of the system for the sound of your own heartbeat? The soul of the islands. From the turquoise waters of Palawan to the misty mountains of Baguio, the Philippines feels like a poem written by nature itself, full of contrasts, yet perfectly balanced. On one side, The ocean stretches endlessly, glittering under the sun like sheets of liquid glass. On the other, pine trees sway in the cool highland breeze, and fog rolls gently through narrow streets lined with wooden cottages. Here, paradise isn't a place, it's a feeling. But what truly defines these islands isn't just their beauty, it's their people. In every town you see it, children laughing barefoot in the rain, vendors selling grilled corn on the roadside, families singing karaoke together as if the whole neighborhood were one living, breathing heart. The sense of connection is so natural, it feels ancient. This is bayanihan, a word that means community spirit. The belief that everyone lifts together, that no one gets left behind. When someone moves houses, neighbors arrive without being asked. When tragedy strikes, strangers show up with food and hands ready to help. That spirit doesn't just welcome foreigners, it embraces them. Back home, I was invisible, says Marcus, an African-American retiree from Atlanta. Here people see me. His voice trembles slightly, not from sadness, but from relief. He says he came looking for peace and ended up finding family. And he's not alone. Many who come here, from nurses to artists, from veterans to digital nomads, say the same thing. The Philippines doesn't just give them a new life, it gives them a place to belong. Love finds its way here too. Countless foreigners have fallen in love not just with the land, but with its people. Kind, gentle, deeply loyal. Marriages bloom between cultures, and what begins as an escape often becomes a lifelong home. She taught me that happiness isn't built, it's shared, says one American who met his wife in Dumaguete. Then there's the new generation, digital expats working remotely by the sea. They log in from bamboo terraces overlooking the ocean, sipping coconut coffee as the tide rises. In the mornings, they do yoga on the sand. In the afternoons, they surf the waves or hike the Emerald Hills. It's not luxury, it's balance. A life that heals the mind as much as it frees the soul. As the drone soars above Palawan, Bohol, and Siargao, the islands look like scattered emeralds on a mirror of blue. From above, you see tiny figures waving, smiling strangers who act like friends. And it hits you, this is more than a tropical destination. It's a mirror held up to a tired world, a reminder that joy doesn't have to be loud, and kindness doesn't have to be rare. The Philippines doesn't try to impress you, it feels you. It reminds you what it means to belong, to love, and to simply live. Because somewhere between the laughter, the songs, and the sunsets, you stop being a visitor and start becoming part of the island's soul. Reality lessons and reflection. No place on earth is perfect, not even paradise. The Philippines, for all its warmth and wonder, still has its flaws. The power goes out sometimes, especially during heavy rains. The internet can lag when you need it most. Bureaucracy can test your patience, and time itself seems to run slower than anywhere else. Appointments that start at 9 might begin at 10. Delivery drivers get lost, and paperwork can disappear as quickly as it's filed. But for most foreigners who have chosen to stay, those frustrations are a small price to pay, because here, the chaos never feels cold. It feels human. Life in the Philippines flows to a different rhythm. There's no constant pressure to perform, no invisible clock ticking behind your every move. People don't live by deadlines, they live by connections. Meals are shared, laughter comes easily, and kindness feels effortless. In the West, silence often feels like loneliness. Here, silence is peace. One retiree, a former lawyer from Chicago, puts it this way: "In America, I used to count every minute. Here I count every smile." Another, a widow from Oregon, adds softly, "It's not perfect, but it's peaceful. And for me, peace is enough." That's the truth. Most discover after a few months here, perfection was never the goal. Peace was. The American dream didn't die. It simply moved. It drifted across the Pacific, traded skyscrapers for palm trees, and found a new home among the islands. Here, people wake with the sun, eat breakfast barefoot, and thank the ocean for another day. They live slower, but they live deeper. And maybe that's the lesson the world needs right now, that happiness isn't something we chase. It's something we choose. It isn't hidden behind luxury, but found in simplicity. It's in the laughter of children outside your window, in the aroma of rice cooking on a quiet afternoon, in the way strangers still greet you as friend. So if freedom is truly the absence of fear and the presence of peace, then perhaps peace already has a name. Maybe it's the Philippines. And as the sun sinks low over the turquoise waters of Palawan, the light turns gold, the waves whisper against the shore, and the voiceover fades gently. In the end, the best compliment Trump gave wasn't to the Filipinos, it was to all of us, a reminder to live with heart. If you believe that freedom is peace, and peace has a home, comment "Peace is freedom" below. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and join us again on the next journey with Discover Globe Places Top 10.